Hello and welcome back to the channel. And today, we've got to talk about the buff that the Undercover Brella received as part of the new Drizzle season. A broken shield will now regenerate a half second faster, with its wait time reduced from 4.5 seconds to a flat 4 seconds. Now, this will certainly help the Undercover in its current role. You're basically a sitting duck without your shield, and any extra moment that you have it means an extra moment to get in the face of the opposing team. However, this is less of a buff and more of a returning of power that was taken away, as this buff replicates the shield's speed boost that main power-up provided in Splatoon 2. I can be pretty hard on the Undercover shield, and I ran a ton of NPU on all of my Splatoon 2 Brella builds, so I'm 100% in favor of reducing this wait time. Unfortunately, this buff doesn't seem to be enough to get this weapon off of the bottom of most players' weapon tier lists. So that got me thinking, what would I do to buff the Undercover Brella and raise its profile in the current meta? Let's talk about this, and if you like this sort of thing, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more fun and informative Nintendo content. Let's begin. First, let's talk about the things I'm not going to buff. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I feel like the Undercover Brella is in a pretty good spot when it comes to melee engagements. While putting together my Splatfest montages, something I've noticed is that the 1v1 battles with the Brella tend to be really close. I either take down the opponent just as my shield is breaking, or I just barely miss doing enough damage and get taken down. One misstep or missed shot by either player could swing the tide of battle, and that's exactly where you want the Undercover Brella to be. Even a small buff, such as slightly increasing the Brella's damage cap, giving its shield a bit more HP, or increasing the Brella's fire rate, could easily upset this balance and give the Brella too much power, letting it take any position with impunity and punish any opponent without feeling threatened at all. I'm also not going to propose a decrease in the special points needed to charge the Brella's Reef Slider. The vanilla Undercover Brella had one of the lowest special point charge values in Splatoon 2 at 150. And with several weapons now having their points cut to 170 in Splatoon 3, having the Undercover Brella follow suit would be understandable given its current position in the game. However, I already think the weapon gets Reef Slider at a pretty solid rate, and I'm going to propose improving its special output indirectly via other buffs, so we'll leave the Undercover Brella at 180 points for now. Now that we've gotten those out of the way, let's talk about my buff proposals. Number 1. Reduce the damage done to the Brella shield by one-hit kill bombs. Currently, these bombs destroy the Undercover shield in a single hit and can pretty much end a fight with the Brella before it even starts. There's a reason my Swift's test starts with having your shield ready, because that delicate balance between offense and defense I mentioned earlier is predicated on your shield being present and at full HP. Being able to instantly destroy the Brella shield is a bit too much of an advantage in my book, so I would adjust the damage multipliers for Splat, Suction, Curling, and Auto Bombs so that the shield could survive a single blow from them. Now, we don't want to nullify this bomb advantage entirely. These consume a lot of ink and limit the amount of shots you can take afterwards, and weapons that don't have bombs like these available can really struggle to get through the shield. Therefore, I think I would set each bomb damage multiplier so that they leave the Undercover Brella with 5 or 10% of its HP, something that would only take a shot or two to destroy completely. This would buy the Brella a little extra time to engage the opponent and take them down even after the bomb, but not so much that the other player would be completely helpless. Again, it's all about finding that balance that makes it a fair fight for everyone, and keeping one-hit kill bombs from immediately shutting down an engagement is the best way to do that. Number 2. Increase the range of the Brella's attack by 6 to 10%. This move is to help counter some of the Undercover Brella's weaker matchups that prefer to fight up close, namely rollers, brushes, and splatanas. Currently, the matchmaking range for this weapon is 11.8, which is equivalent to that of a standard splat roller. A 6% increase would put the Undercover Brella at the same range as an NZAP, Big Swig Roller, or Splat Brella, while 10% would put it on roughly even footing with the Splatana Wiper and the Paintbrush. The extra reach should help the Brella keep some of its worst enemies at arm's length, and thus shift these matchups from disadvantageous to more of a toss-up. This change would also be a significant boost to the Undercover Brella's painting ability, which is why I would leave its points for special at 180 rather than cutting them down to 170. In fact, Given how well this Brella paints as it is, it might even be worth considering increasing the points for Reef Slider to 190 to avoid spamming the special too quickly. Number 3. Increase the damage dealt by making contact with the shield from 15 to 20. As it stands currently, 2 max power shots combined with a shield hit will cause 95 damage, which means a third shot is still needed to take out the opponent. Bump the shield ramming power up to 20, however, and the combination will splat on impact, which not only gives the Undercover Brella another option for taking out opponents, but might also encourage Brella players to engage in more close quarters combat. Now, this is a risky change because it could upset that careful balance I talked about earlier, but I like the idea of pairing it with the previous range buff because it encourages some interesting risk and reward calculations on the part of the Brella user. Do you stay back and try to slowly chip away with your range, or do you charge in for a quicker kill at the risk of a less favorable matchup? It adds some flexibility to the weapon without giving it an unfair advantage, which is always a good thing. Number 4. Decrease the per-shot ink consumption of the Brella from 4% to 3.6%. On its face, this isn't a huge change, giving the Undercover Brella 27 shots on a full ink tank instead of 25, and letting it fire 11 shots after dropping a mine instead of just 10. However, these extra shots just might be enough to get the weapon out of a tough spot, and help enable combination kills with its sub-weapon. The vanilla Undercover Brella, however, isn't what I'm worried about here. Instead, I'm thinking about that mystical Undercover Sorella Brella kit that we haven't got yet. I distinctly remember struggling to keep ink in the USB in Splatoon 2 because of all the splat bombs that I would throw, so if an efficiency buff could give us an extra shot after using a sub-weapon that eats 65% or 70% of your ink tank, this could help make powerful sub-weapons like splat bombs, suction bombs, or torpedoes a bit more viable on an Undercover Brella. This, in turn, might free up the developers to equip the Brella with a more powerful kit, enticing players to give the weapon a try in higher tier play. Number 5. Yeah, some things just don't need a whole lot of words. With these changes, I think the Undercover Brella becomes a stronger main weapon without upsetting the careful balance of offense and defense that the weapon already has. I think bringing back the main power-up buff from Splatoon 2 is a good first step, and I hope the developers continue to fine-tune the weapon and try to change the narrative of this underused, underrated Brella. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again in a future video. So long!